hope like hell that you can see what's going on. Obviously, I said that we were going to go live today interviewing the one and only Justin Herald. Now, if you're not sure of Justin's background, started Attitude Inc. at 25, did what most people absolutely would love to do with their life, and just made an absolute killing of it. There's no river he won't cross, there's no mountain he won't climb, and there's no door he won't bash down to make sure that he gets to do what he wants to do and assist other people in the world. So, Justin, how are you today, man?
I'm great. I'm stuck at home, but I'm great.
Yeah, aren't we all stuck at home, right?
Yeah.
Now, guys, what you may not be aware of, Justin and I had a brief chat just before we got started here, and he's told me that he's doing about, on average, around 21 kilometres a day in his backyard. Justin, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's just because I decided to, put it out there that I'd lend a hand with anyone that needs some assistance in their business for free. And because most of the thing I do normally is mentoring. So I just thought I'd give 20-minute sessions for free and just see how that went. And, over 400 people decided to give it a crack. And so I'm now on the phone walking and talking because I can't sit still every single day. So it means I can eat bad food at night time. That's the only advantage now because it means I don't put on any weight.
I would have that problem. I continue to put on weight. This lockdown has got me cooking more food than I've cooked in a long time. The web is getting an absolute workout. But so cool that you've decided to, and you and I, we kind of had the chat around that, is that you wanted to give some value back, and there's so many people out there that are doing that, but there's also people out there that are sort of taking the piss a little bit and taking advantage of people, right? So it's so cool.
Well, there is. Yeah, and that's what we've got to do. Like, it's the same in normal life outside of this current situation, but we've just actually got to tap into the people that actually can provide proper value and actually avoid the people that are just out there to either screw us over, rip us off, or take advantage.
Yeah. 100%. So, for those people who may not know a lot about you, I mean, I know you're very prolific here in Australia. Obviously, was Entrepreneur of the Year in 2005. As I said, started Attitude Inc. at 25 and have written multiple best-selling books. Tell everyone just a little bit more about yourself. Fill in the gaps.
Look, I'm an accidental business guy. You'll never hear me call myself an entrepreneur, but an accidental one. And the only reason I started my first business was by default. So I started that with, had $1.25. I had to borrow the $50. And the only reason I decided to start that was just to upset someone in my dad's church. That was my business plan, who kept on telling me that I had an attitude problem. So I just thought, well, I may as well put it on the back of my T-shirt to upset you the next Sunday. And I upset her the next Sunday, which was fantastic. And I made 4 shirts with that $50. I sold 3 of those shirts to 3 of my mates, and then I could make 6 and 12 and 24 and 48. Need a calculator after that, but that's the way that the business grew. I ended up owning the word attitude because I trademarked it globally, which wasn't an easy thing to do, but ended up owning the word around the world, and then licensed the brand to over 180 odd companies around the world who wanted to use my name on their products. And with over 900 of those, 900 products under those 180 odd companies sold globally, and I got between 2 and 22.5% of the turnover. So, and that was all done in 6 years, essentially.
Wow, that's crazy, but very, very cool. Obviously, something like that literally changes your life, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, look, I'm glad that I started the business before the internet existed, to be very honest. I think that gets in the way for a lot of people, especially budding entrepreneurs. It gets in the way because there's too much information out there, which, based upon some numbnut doing a website doesn't mean they're correct, but some people take that. So I didn't have that. So I had to go and do the hard yards. I had to go and learn stuff myself. There wasn't a great deal of information about how to start a business. So me doing it the way I did it, I thought was the common sense way to do it. Now, if you looked at most experts, they'll tell you everything that I did was incorrect and it shouldn't work. So once again, I didn't have that white noise in the back of my head. And, I'm probably the most surprised person on the planet that it ended up working. But for me, it was just a common sense approach to running a business. The only thing I passed in school was recess, so I wasn't the smartest cookie in the jar. I just wanted to upset the lady. That was the main thing. And then after probably about 6 months, I thought, hang on, this is actually a business. And then I started to take it a little bit more seriously. But I've never, and I ended up getting a mentor. I'm very big on mentors. Ended up having a mentor, Harry. And the one thing that Harry told me right at the start, which I've never gone away from, is don't change who you are in business, Justin, because that's the thing that's going to actually make it a success.
Yeah, nice. Great advice too on that.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember years ago when I first learned about you. I probably learned about you in about 2011. I mean, I'm a Kiwi, so up until
sorry about that.
Did you say same here?
No, I said sorry about that.
Oh. I was going to say I don't think you, but yeah, okay. Now that makes more sense. Sorry about that. Yeah, got it. So I moved here in 2008, but I first learned about you in around 2010, 2011. I'd attended an event and I got a whole heap of CD interviews, and you were one of them. But I remember listening to you and then went and go and watching some of your videos as well. And you said something, the way that you rung clothing stores, didn't you, to say, hey, have you got any attitude gear? And
yeah. So once again, this was a common sense thing to me. People go, oh, that's really smart. I wasn't trying to be smart. But the first shop that I went into, and it'd be like anyone that's just started their business, the first time you get a no, you're actually quite deflated. So I went and saw this surf store, and the guy, I said, look, my name's Justin Herald, and I'm from a company called Attitude. And he said, I've never heard of it. And I said, well, you wouldn't have, because I haven't told you about it yet. And he said, well, no one's asking for it. I said, because they're not asking for it because I haven't told you about it. And if I haven't told you about it, they haven't heard of it. If they haven't heard of it, they're not asking for it. So that's why they're not asking for it. And he said, well, when there's demand, come back and see me. And I thought, man, you're a numbnut. So I walked out all dejected from that store, and I sat in my car in the car park, and I had an epiphany. And I thought, you know what, I'm doing business the wrong way. I'm actually trying to fit into someone else's box, and I need to sort of stay in my own lane. So I rang up, because the way that I am, this is part I've never changed. I'm not a serious person, especially in business. I think there's enough serious people on the planet, so we don't need any more. And for me, owning a business or businesses is a chance of freedom and a chance to actually have fun. So I'm sitting in the car park at this surf store, and I rang up 4 of my mates, and I said, I need you guys to come over tonight. And they said, why? And I said, I'm having a board meeting because I'm a businessman. They come over that night and they said, what's up? And I said, I want one of you to ring this surf store once a week, and this is all I want you to say. So week 1, ring, hello, do you have any attitude gear? And the guy goes, not yet. Week 2, do you have any attitude gear? And the guy goes, no, but a few people have been asking for that brand. Week 3, same thing. Week 4, one of my mates rings up and he goes, no, we're waiting for the rep to come back in because there's such a demand for that brand. There was no demand. It's just me and my 4 mates ringing up the same shop. See, this is a sales thing. A lot of times in sales, people just don't use these things. They just use that thing. And so I didn't hear that guy say, I don't like your brand. I only heard him say, no one's asking for your brand. So I just thought, well, I'll just get people to go and ask for it. And I went in the following day after that last phone call, and his brother was there this time, and I walked in and said, mate, can I show you a brand? And he said, what's it called? I said, it's called Attitude. And he said, stop. I said, okay. He said, everyone is asking for your brand right now. It was just me and my 4 mates. But and he put an order in for $1,587. It was time for financial retirement for me right then. But, yeah, so that's, I mean, for me, that was a common sense thing to go and do.
Yeah. And I actually remember reading something similar, Wayne Dyer doing something very similar with his books, ringing up bookstores going, hey, have you got erogenous zones? And that was his first one. So yeah, I really, really appreciated that. I thought that was really, really cool. So obviously, it actually something else I've always wanted to ask you personally about this, because I remember you saying it in this interview. And it was when you were sitting at the board table with the people that took the license, and they said, is there anything else? And what was it that you said to them? You took something out of the boardroom.
I wanted a TV. Yeah, so it was the Philips when they decided to ask me to license my brand, which I turned up to that meeting. And this is the reason I like telling these stories is there's a lot of people in business, especially if you're in startup, that you've got no clue what you're doing. And that's okay, because I've been now doing business for 25 years, and there's some days that I wake up and I've got no clue what I'm doing. And that's going to be a natural thing that's going to happen, because if you think about it, the more that we do what we do, the bigger our comfort zone gets, and the bigger our comfort zone gets, there's more things that we need to learn how to do. But so I was sitting in a meeting with Philips, who wanted to license my brand. I had no idea what licensing was. I just went to a meeting because they said come to a meeting, and we did the deal. And all I wanted out of the deal was a TV. I didn't even know I was getting paid, so I ended up leaving with a TV and a stereo, and a check. But I was pretty happy with the stereo and the TV.
Awesome.
I still like free stuff.
Yeah, well, hey, who doesn't like free stuff, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of free stuff with strings attached to it. There's a lot of free stuff going on at the moment with the strings attached to it. So obviously doing that put you in, like everything that you'd been through to this point, Justin, put you in really, really good stead for what was to come in life. What were your 3 biggest lessons from that first one?
Don't believe don't believe everything people say. I'm a very trusting person, but I get done over every now and again based upon me trusting people. So I've become a little bit better than that. There's a lot of people that want to use and abuse, and I'm pretty good at it now, but it was a big wake up call early on. Look, I don't know. What have I learned? Look, having fun is the main thing. Not everything's going to work, and people get too caught up in that. Like, if success were easy, everyone would be successful. So the reality is it's not going to be that easy, and the reality is you're going to fail at some things. The reality is some things are not going to work as well as you thought. And the other thing I think I guess, and it's an old saying, but there's the old saying, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. Well, you can if you force it. And sometimes in business, what we're going to have to do, and in life, we're going to have to force things to happen. It comes back to, success is not that easy. So I've learned that just because I've got a great idea doesn't mean everyone's going to buy into it. I've learned that not everyone's going to support everything that you do all the time. I've learned people try and rip you off. But I've learned there's some really good people on the planet. And I think, for me, success is not so much about how much money's in your bank account. It's also what the freedom it gives you. And for me, it's been 25 years this year since I started Attitude, but it's something that I'm in a position that I never thought I would be in. I was not aiming this high, that's for sure, right from the start. But the fact that I've got myself to, and I don't want to sound like a wanker here, but I've got myself to a level of influence. I've got to make sure that influence is more than just my own personal outcomes and my own personal bank account. And I'm glad I was raised the way I was raised, so that's a bit easier for me to do. But it's about giving back, especially at this point in time, and the way the world is. We've got to give back. We've got to look after each other. Yeah,
I agree 100% with that. And, I don't think you're being a wanker for saying that at all. I think you've been bang on. You have created an amount of influence. You've had the success, and you have every right to say what you've said and where we should be heading. A lot more than some people.
I've never used it for my own benefit. No. That's the thing, which I'm really glad that I have not done. I see too many people doing that, and it's just filling their own pockets. And we've done okay. And that's the reason I still do all the businesses I've got. Is I've got to be current as well. So I'm not, sitting around doing nothing, which we all are now. Everyone. If you went back 6 months ago, they would have gone, I wish I could sit around in my house and do nothing. I'm pretty sure people are ruining that one now. So it's I want to keep busy. I want to make sure that I'm current, especially with my mentoring, and also good, as I do a lot of speaking. So I've got to make sure that what I'm going to say on stage is actually going to work based upon me actually doing it, not based upon a theory or 25 years ago concept.
Yeah, no, absolutely, good point. And there is still a lot of people that do rest on that as well. And I think the people that are really showing the way, like yourself, are the ones that are out there on the grindstone, so to speak, and getting the things done. And it's not necessarily about going out and slogging yourself. It's doing things a little bit smarter, but actually doing it and not just talking about doing it. That's the thing though right now, right? There's so many people are in that space where they're still about what's in it for me rather than what they can provide for so many others.
Yeah, look, I think, the way it was described to me early on in business, and it's a great way to look at it, and some people will get upset with this one, but in business, everything's got to be win-win. My theory, and the way it was explained to me, make sure you win first. So that's all I'm doing is making sure, because there's been times that I just want to help other people and make sure that they win. And best example of this would be, referral programs or affiliate programs where they go, if you put us out to your database, we'll make sure. And you go, okay, I've done that, and you're hearing crickets, nothing ever comes back. And so those sorts of things really irritate me, and that's where I was sort of screwed over for a long time at the start, because I do believe what people say. But I make sure that anyone that I do business with, everyone's going to win, but I just got to make sure that it's working for me at the start. Otherwise, there's nothing worse than everyone else getting ahead, and then you're sitting there going, well, I'm the one that created this whole thing. Not that I'm trying to be selfish, but that's what we're in business for.
Yeah.
And
Look, I can actually really, really relate to that. I've had a few frustrations over the last few years. I am with what I believe an amazing company, and I've worked my ass off probably more than I've ever worked in any company to get to where I am within that. But there's still that element. Sometimes you put in too much, and that's what that list I showed you at the start, right?
Yeah.
It's all those things, those extra things. I'm like, hold on, what am I winning out of that? And yes, long term I am. But at the same time, there's not a lot in it right now, which is fine. I don't mind giving back the same as you, but you've got to make sure that you're looked after as well in that process, right?
Well, it has to be. Otherwise, you're going to get pretty well jaded.
Yeah, 100%. And I can so relate to what you've said. I'm very, very trusting myself, Justin. I'll take people at their word, literally.
Yep.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. So
yeah.
That's very much my philosophy. Interesting. So we're obviously in some really, really unprecedented times right now with what we've got going on in the world. We've never witnessed anything like this to this scale. What would you say to people if they were what would be the best bit of advice you could give people right now, particularly if they were looking to work for themselves, or they're obviously, maybe they were employees and now they're like, holy shit, I'm gonna have to do something for myself. What would your advice be for them?
Well, the first advice is for everyone in general, and that is you can't unscramble eggs. So right now there's a lot of people going, oh, how do I get this thing? Well, it is what it is, right? This is probably the first time in my entire life that every single person in business has had to handle the exact same problem at the same time, right? So it's what we now do and how we now respond to that. Too many people are reacting right now. We need to respond. So I think it's the best time to actually start to look at how do you start a business, or how do you get into being in business for yourself, even if it's on the side. Here in Australia, there's a lot of people that have on the job, I get these mixed up, keeper, where the government's paying us to, well, not us, paying people to stay home. So if that's you, well, there's a great opportunity now to actually look at, well, can I get into a business for myself? I love being a business owner. I've got a lot of them that I actually own now, and it's fun. And it's not that I'm working ridiculous hours at all. It's, like you said before, it is about looking at how do you work smarter. There's a lot of people get sort of caught up in some of this stuff a little bit too much. Like they get caught up in the sayings. And my favourite one that everyone's knocking out at the moment is you have to work on your business, not in your business. What a load of crap that is. Like, if you own a car, do you drive on your car or in your car? Right? So you're going to be in your business right now. You're going to be working on it at the same time. You're going to, I hate the word hustle, but you're going to have to be working hard. You're going to have to find new ways of doing things. You're going to have to zig instead of zag. You're going to have to do all these things at the same time. Now, that's the part that I love about business. If you think about it, we've all gone back to startup mode, if you really look at it. Now, that for me is my favourite part of a business. When it's going well, I get bored. So we've all been sort of forced to now have to think outside that square. We've got to create better opportunities with each other. We've got to work together a lot more. We've got to find markets that we didn't know existed before. Like, one of the things, and I launched this probably 4 months before this, so it wasn't deliberate. But the thing that's really worked for me at the moment has been my junior entrepreneur program that I launched as an online program for kids. That's gone nuts at this stage because parents have now got their kids at home going, well, I don't want them to go through this. later on if this ever happens to them. So those sorts of things, I'm glad that I actually had that beforehand. Had I not, I would have been doing something like that now, and seeing that there's a big market there. So what we've got to all start to do is actually think outside the square a little bit more than we normally would. And if I look at if you don't mind me continue on with this one, mate, but if I look at what my wife's done, so my wife owns a day spa and medi spa. Very proud of my wife because she's been voted the #1 day spa and medi spa in Australia for 4 years in a row. So awesome. A very successful business, but obviously her industry has been forced to shut. So what she's gone and done is created all these home packs that her customers and clients can buy and do their own treatments at home, included that with a tutorial video that they can watch, do their own treatments, all that sort of stuff. Her business has gone nuts. Now, we call me the Corona Courier, so I'm now dropping these off in the local area to anyone that orders it on that same day. So what we've done is gone, okay, yes, there's a problem, and that we've been handed this crap sandwich that we all now have to eat. But what we've decided to do is create another way of interacting with our clients, creating a new type of business that we didn't have before, and it's gone absolutely nuts. Now, 4 weeks ago, we didn't have that in our heads.
Yep.
So but the thing that if you're in business now or you want to start a business, the thing that you don't have the luxury of right now, and don't fall into the false sense that you do have this, you don't have time to make many decisions right now. Your decision needs to be made like that. Yep. And if you don't spend too much money, especially if it's a startup, don't spend too much money starting it up. Because if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, right? If you spend a fortune on it and it doesn't work, sort of matters.
Yeah.
So, my favorite 4-letter word is next. So if things aren't working, I'm moving on to that next thing real quick, and to the point where I actually don't care if it doesn't work. I'm just constantly moving and moving and moving.
So really speed and adaptability is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, you got it, but that's the way I like doing business anyway, so it suits my style.
Yeah. And look, I think you said something really early on that is like, you've said a lot of things already, Justin. I'm just like, man, that's me as well, If only I had the licensing deal that you've got, but I've got something that's going on as well. Cool, no problems. But you said you really like that startup phase, and you hate the word hustle. I appreciate that. But you like that startup phase of getting it in, and it's because we're learning something new as we go, and then when we get to the point where it's manageable, you're like, nah. I'm very much like that myself. I think it's almost human nature, isn't it?
Well, for me, I'm an unstructured person in life. So I just do whatever I want to do and go, oh, that didn't work, or oops, I shouldn't have done that. So that's my personal life. And this is where a lot of people go wrong in business, is they assume that they need to be some sort of business personality. That's the biggest mistake anyone can make. Your personality is why people are going to be attracted to you in business and outside of business. So that's why I've been able to stay who I am. So my personal thing is very unstructured. So it's the same way that I run my businesses. And, if any expert comes and go, oh, it's impossible to run a business, works for me.
Yeah.
And so I've never done a profit and loss. I've never done a forecast. I've never done budgets. I've never borrowed money. I've never had an overdraft. And all that apparently means I can't run a business and it would never work. But no one told me that I needed to do a profit and loss, needed to do this, needed to do that. So I think, as I said right at the start of this, there's a lot of white noise there from all these experts that no one's ever heard of telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. My advice is do it your way. And if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, then you know what not to do again.
Yeah. That's exactly right. There is a lot of people saying what we should and shouldn't be doing. I'm stealing this from somewhere else. I can't remember exactly where, but it's along the lines, if we keep listening to those shoulds, we end up shooting all over ourselves. So we can do without that. Listen to, I think one of the biggest things that I take from what you just said is really don't try and be anyone else. Be yourself. Be authentically you. Listen to your inner voice. Okay, is this the next right logical step? It's interesting. I won't say funny. It's interesting. There's been a few people over the last few weeks, and I'd love your thoughts on this. Over the last few weeks they've come for advice, and they've gone, oh, I want to do this, and And I've really sat with that, because obviously you probably get it as well. A lot of people go, I want your advice. I sat with it and I thought, why do people ask that? And my answer, and I'd love to hear yours, my answer was because they're looking for validation, but also looking for, if it doesn't work, I've got a scapegoat. You told me I should do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I learned early on. That's why I believe mentoring and coaching are two different things, and that's going to upset the coaches, but that's okay. Don't write to me, write to someone else about that one. But Mentoring, and this is where I was always mentored, not coached. So, and that's the way I do with my clients. So, yes, I've got my opinion and my advice and my direction and my answers to some people's problems. But it's more about me trying to get them to create their own answers whilst in that problem, because I don't believe that anyone needs, and once again, we're going to upset people here, that anyone needs mentors or coaches for years and years and years. If you do, that means they're not doing their job properly. Mm-hmm. So my role is to pass on the information, the knowledge that I've been given, and then I've also learned by action to other people for them to go and build their life with that. And that's resolving your own problems has to be that. If it's, and I say this to all of my clients, if I'm coming up with all the answers that actually work for you in all your businesses, that success is mine, it's not yours. Yep. And so that's a false level of success, and I don't want them to experience that. Success for me is awesome because it gives you a certain quality of life and it gives you certain choices that you can make. I want people to experience that. Yep. And the only way they're going to do that is with longevity on understanding how they actually got there. There's too many people, I think, have been driven to the success point in the back of a, this is figuratively speaking, in the back of a limo. They get there and then they don't know how to replicate that because they've actually done none of the work to get to that end point. And I think that's a very sad thing. And look, I like making my own mistakes. I like figuring out, I don't need anyone to tell me where I suck in life because I'm working on that on a daily basis. So, and the only way I can figure out where I suck is when things don't work. And so I've got to push myself, but I've got people that I still pay to this day, my mentors, that still push me and actually will call me an idiot sometimes when I can't. Oh, look at this great idea, and I go, you're an idiot. And so I'm glad I've got people like that there that don't sort of just give me platitudes and stroke my back and stroke my hair. Don't have any, but just don't appease me with all that sort of stuff. I need to be pushed. I need to be stretched.
And people that keep you grounded is what you're talking about, right? I mean, that are honest with you, that aren't. I love what you said. Not giving the platitudes, not stroking your back, just saying, no, this is how it is. And I think,
well, it's funny. I had one of my friends. I was speaking before all this whole thing went belly up, and at a conference, and there would have been 600 or 700 people there, and they'd never seen me speak before. For them, I'm just Justin, and so they came to this thing, and he could not believe how many people were lining up wanting to talk to me at the end of the whole conference, and he was asking people to go, "Why are you lining up to talk to him for?" So that's where I don't get carried away with all that sort of stuff. I am not based upon, how do I say this, the public perception of me. That's not how I have ever seen myself, and I'm pretty glad that I've never seen myself. I'm just, I'm a dad to 5 daughters. I don't get to really spend much time in a bathroom at all at this house. My wife makes me go and do courier and grocery shopping. That's essentially how I live my life, and I'm glad that it is like that, and it's not full of wank.
Yeah, no, nice. It's real. It's authentic. Yeah.
Well, we all shower the same, though, don't we?
Yeah, well, that's right. And you know what? At the same time, we all end up in the same place too, Justin. We've got our time here, and once it's done, it's done. We all end up in the same place. 6 feet under. Stay humble, right?
For me, it's just about, I just want, like, if I ever die at some point in time, which is probably going to happen, I just want people to go, you know what, he wasn't a bad bloke. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. It's I think the biggest thing that for me, and I'm sure you've obviously had this, you've had a great grounding in it all the way through from what I hear, but for me it was getting so rawly honest with myself and to where I was, and stop telling myself the stories and the excuses, or stop buying my own excuses. And that's when things shifted for me. And it comes back to what you said about your mentors, giving it to you as you need it, not as you want to hear it.
And I think too, there's a lot of people out there that probably don't even realise they've probably got the skill set that is needed, but they've never actually tapped into it. They've never actually gone that next step. So as I said at the start, I'm probably the most surprised person on the planet that this thing worked, because if I looked at my schooling, if I looked at all that sort of stuff, there was no skill there. There was no inkling of, I've got this business thing down pat. But when I started it, I just felt it's a natural thing that I was good at, and I backed myself, and that's something that I'm unfortunately seeing not happening a great deal at the moment. People want validation from other people that this may be a good thing, like you're saying before. This may be a good way to go. Well, I don't really need to ask other people that. I'm just going to give it a shot, and then when it starts working, then I'll go, oh, that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't tap into too many people before I go and do things. I'll tap into them after I've started.
You know what? I can really appreciate that philosophy. I like it, and it reminds me. And you said something earlier that reminded me too of the story of the frog climbing the mountain. He'd climb the mountain, and all his mates fall away. How did you get to the top? And it turns out he was deaf. He wasn't hearing anyone saying you couldn't make it. So that's a really good philosophy. I think Tony Robbins actually said, if you're gonna do something, then don't tell anyone. No, it wasn't Tony, because he reckons you should tell everyone. I can't remember who it was, but do it, and then when you're successful, go and see. I told you I've done it. Yeah. No.
And as I said before, you just got to back yourself.
Yeah.
Too many people are trying to get everyone else to go, yeah, you're great. Like, if you don't think that yourself, then you're stuffed.
I wrote something very profound years ago. It was just a very short sentence, and it's something that comes back to me. I'm going to put it on one of my walls here, so I see it as soon as I come out of bed in the morning, out of my bedroom. And it was, if you're doing something for recognition, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
The world will recognize you when you recognize yourself. And that speaks to exactly what you've just said.
Yeah, it's the runs on the board. I could waffle on forever and a day about everything I've done, but if people can see what I've done, I don't have to waffle at all.
That's true story. True story. Yep, no, absolutely, 100%. Hey, look, Justin, I know I'm mindful of your time. You've spent a great deal of time with me here this morning. I really, really appreciate it. For those people that are watching, obviously the replay. If they wanted to get in touch with you, find out about your workshops, particularly your Young Entrepreneur Program, because I'd like to get my boys in that, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, mate?
Okay, so can I give you 3 websites now? I hate doing the self-promotion thing, as I said to you previously.
No, do it, for sure.
So juniorentrepreneur.com is where you go to get that. Now, if anyone watching this, if you put in the code SCHOOL, that will actually give you a 50% off. So it's only $49. Well, no, it's not. It's $40-something. No, it's not. It's 30. That's going to make it $30-something. $34.50 is going to make it. For your kids to do a whole program, there's workbooks in there. It's an audio program. I've done that deliberately because going with my kids, the way they like to listen is audio. They don't like to sort of sit and tap away. So there's workbooks in there. It's going to take them from the idea stage all the way through to launching the product. Parents will love it, because if a parent has never run a business or grown a business before, they can't help little Johnny. So this is going to help parents help little Johnny, or Johnny Yep. So I've got that one. There's customer culture, which is my passion, which is customerculture.com, which is customer service, online customer service training for your staff. I highly recommend that you are training your staff right now if you've got them at this time. The businesses that are going to looking after their customers now and in the future, the ones that are going to be surviving. It's surprising on how many people do not train their staff at the moment. That is a very intensive and easy to do, but intensive program that took me 7 months to put together, and we sell thousands of them through around the world every week, because people are actually realizing they need to do that. And the other way is justinherald.com. That's my normal website. That's where you can find out about me, I guess. Cool. But look, if anyone wants to have a chat, just send me an email or whatever, and I'm here to help people. That's what we should be doing at this point in time.
Awesome, Justin. And look, I actually had in my questions here to talk about customer culture, because I've seen a lot of the stuff you've posted on Facebook about that, and I've followed that from the time you started it, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, it is. There was a statistic released over here in Australia. If you ever want to put yourself to sleep at night, go to the Bureau of Statistics website. But they released a statistic recently that in the last 3 years, only 27% of adult staff have had any training inside the workplace. And that, if you want to succeed in business and you've got staff, train them. The ones that don't train them, it's like, I always get people going, no, I can't afford to train. Like, not spending money on training your staff is like deflating the 3 other tires that are good because you got a flat tire. It makes no sense whatsoever. And spending money, we spend a lot of money on training our staff, and some of them been with us for a long time. But the consumer is changing all the time, and if we don't appreciate that and understand that, my next sale is only because I've looked after someone previously.
Yeah.
And that's a thing. I don't understand. I really do not have a clue why people think training their staff is not an option at this stage. It's the only thing you should be doing right now.
Well, it's. I love what Laurel Langmeyer said. You always pay. You either pay with experience or you pay up front with money, right? And you're saying people can't afford that. They can't afford not to for the very reason that they're leaving so much money on the table with untrained staff. There'll be people that won't come back to a shop because of one word that somebody said to them.
Yep.
So it's
well, we've got to make sure our staff are the reason for choice, not the reason for change. And there's too many people out there now that are losing business, and their businesses will not survive after this. They might be still in business now, but you might have seen my Facebook Live I did yesterday, but there's businesses out there now that are actually treating their customers like crap. What's going to happen is I'm never going back there again, ever.
Yep.
So, and especially now, or when everyone gets back to normality, I now have more choice. I'm only going to stick with the ones who have actually put in time and effort into me and great experiences right now. They're the ones that I'll spend my money with. And that's why we're doing, like in the day spa stuff, that's why we're going above and beyond, doing what we're doing, because we want to make sure that those people come back, and they will.
Absolutely, and they'll come back in droves. And not only will they come back, they'll have told a dozen people each about the amazing service they've got during this time, and those people will come as well.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Agreed.
Well, Justin, I'll make sure that all of those links get put with this video. I do absolutely appreciate your time here with me this morning. Really, really do. Guys, for those of you who don't know, I sent Justin my manuscript for my book years ago, and he sent me back a great review on it. I assume he read it.
I read him.
But no, I really appreciate you being here. And if there's anything else you guys want to see or know, obviously you'll be able to get in touch with Justin yourself. But appreciate you being here. And guys, have an amazing day. You absolutely deserve it. And I look forward to talking to you again really, really soon.